you can start. Oh, no?
Ready?
Okay, go ahead.
My original name was Yecheskel Rosmarin. I changed in the States my first name because of difficulties in pronouncing my first name, from Yecheskel to Jack Rosmarin. I was born in Będzin, Poland. Będzin is located between Krakow and Katowice, and it's only 36 kilometers from Auschwitz. I was born into a modern Jewish religious parents, and I was one of 10 children, 6 brothers and 4 sisters. I got by my parents Mordka and Perla Gittle, maiden name Gittle, a religious education. I went to several yeshivot and also education in high school and commercial schools. I was in Poland a certified accountant and worked in several big corporations as well a few years in a bank in Sosnowiec. The name of the bank was Kasa Udzielowa in Sosnowiec. The last years, from 1935 till 1938, I was the manager of the firm Max Borinsky in Katowice. In 1938, I was fired from the Borinsky firm because the firm was sold to Konrad Szydelko in Katowice. The reason of selling was the Polish anti-Semitic disturbances as picketing the Borinsky store and not letting customers to enter the store by spitting and beating the people trying to enter the store. So in 1938 I joined my brother's leather goods factory in Będzin under the name A&J Rosmarin. As the war broke out on the first day of September 1939,
Mr. Rosmarin, can I ask you to back up a little bit?
Yes.
Maybe you can describe for us a little bit more about the neighborhood that you grew up in, something more about the town, and how it was to be a Jew growing up in that community.
You see, when I was born, let's say the years after, let's say 5, 6, 7 years, Poland became as a newborn state, so the anti-Semitic problems was not seen as in the later years. The worst years were the years from 1933, when Hitler rose in Germany. They took his lessons and they started to be an anti-Semitic country. As I mentioned before, I was working in a store in a very big firm in Katowice, where we were forced to sell it because they didn't let in customers go into the store by beating them and spitting them and calling several this who buys by a Jew is an enemy of the country and so forth. Będzin as itself, there were 70% or 75% Jewish population. Even the mayor of the town was a Jew. All the stores, they were Jewish stores. But at the same token, the Polish population is in general, they are born anti-Semitic people. You see, in the previous years, you were beaten by drunk Polacks. But in the last years, the last 10 years before the war, you have been beaten by the intelligentsia, so to say. As I said, I went to yeshivot in Warsaw, this far away from, it's by 300 kilometers from, so I never attend with mixed children, so I cannot express myself how it was in the schools or so forth, because I was in a strict religious schools.
And your parents largely associated with Jewish people?
Only Jewish religious people, as to say Hasidic people.
Were you aware between 1933 and 1938, when you experienced a very real change in terms of your employment, of what was going on in Germany?
Absolutely. We knew everything. We knew all the speeches, the Hitler speeches. We knew that, let's say, that 99% of the German population voted for Hitler. And in my opinion, it was not only voting, it's the same like you hire a murderer to kill somebody, is the same by voting him to power. They gave him the power to kill because he was, all his speeches and all his thing was only like my Kampf and so was only how to get rid of the Jewish population in Europe. Besides, his plan was not only the Jewish people. His plans was, when he will finish with the Jewish people, to exterminate the Polish, the French, and so forth, to have a Europe, a German Europe. So we knew very well what goes on. We didn't expect, let's say, even you believe and you knew, but you didn't expect in such an extent. Even they, I believe, didn't know. This is my opinion. Till 1942, when America went into war. So they didn't respect nobody anymore. So they decided to exterminate the Jewish people. Till then, there was specific cases, like they took a house and they shot all the Jewish people from the house. Or let's say the third day, as I mentioned before, as I have it here, the third day after they occupied our town, they burned down the synagogue and the Beit HaMedrash, and the streets all around, let's say, 2 streets on the right side and the left side, they didn't let out the Jewish people from the houses when the fire was on, and they burned down with the people, with all the people. This was the third day after they occupied, which they were right away. We were between 6 and 10 kilometers from the German border, our town. So they were right away there. They were on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, they were already in our town, the Germans.
Can you describe that day for us?
It was in a Monday, or it was a Sunday night. They start a fire in the synagogue in Benjamin, which was one of the oldest. And in my opinion, it was all the nicest one, because the synagogue was painted by a painter and artist by the name Applebaum, which it was the most gorgeous synagogue in Poland. So they put on fire, and the Beit HaMedrash was near the synagogue, so it was joining. And then there were streets on this side and streets on this side. When they started fire, in my opinion, I was told, because I wasn't just right in the same streets, because we were, let's say by 5 minutes away from there. So they put in, instead water, they put in gasoline. And so let's say the next morning, it was all the houses were burned down with the people, with all the people. What else should I tell you? This was right at the beginning. Then a few days later, they took one new house. But everything what I mentioned you, I've written down here. A few days later, they took all the people from one, let's say it was a brand new house. The owner of the house was Spiegel. He was a baker. And they shot all the people without letting out even one living soul. They killed all of them. And so it went from there. We got a few days peace, a few weeks peace, and then something else. And so it went all the years until Judenrein, until they liquidate entirely.
How did that impact on you personally, on your family, and what, after some of these atrocities were committed in the very early days, were there plans made to leave,
What you mean plans to leave? First of all, a Jew couldn't move 3 kilometers out of his town. Then, for example, after 6 o'clock, there were, as I call it in Hebrew, otzer, or so. Curfew, so you couldn't go till 6 o'clock in the morning. And then where would you go? The Polish people were not cooperative, and then nobody expect in the first years, even you saw specific cases killing Jewish people or shooting people in the street or so, but everybody, first of all, you have to be there to understand it, but it's hard to describe, because everybody looks at himself, he will survive, They are thinking about somebody else, not about you. And that was the story. I can only tell you by myself that when they start to register the people for the coupons for food or so forth, or when they came to our family, I was the one what I decided I will not give my name in. And this, I believe, was a smart move, and maybe it's a move that I am sitting here, because whenever they looked for a list for young people to camps or transport for gas chambers or whatever, I didn't exist in their books, so they never looked for me. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was. So I was able, I mean, to hide myself from their lists till they make it Judenrein. This was August the 1st, 1943.
Okay. But in 1939, you were still working.
In
in the
1939,
leather factory.
I was a partner with my younger brother, which owned a factory of leather goods like wallets and belts and so forth. And this became bigger from day to day because the Germans ordered for the army and so forth, but they put in right away a so-called Kommissarische Verwalter, if you know what this means. That
An overseer?
this was under his, and we started as owners. We became employees with a salary which you could buy for the salary a pack of cigarettes a week. But always when you got a German inside, you could walk with him to steal out merchandise, sell it, send it away, and we split the money between us, so we could live a little bit better, and he got his parts all the time. But later, in 1943, they brought some Germans from Romania, and they called them into the Heimland, into Germany, and they gave them Jewish factories. So now one became the owner. Instead, under supervision of the German government, he became the sole owner of the factory, and we worked together the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So this was till the day I went to Auschwitz. My parents were alive, everybody, entire family ours, were alive till August the 1st, 1943.
Were your other brothers and sisters working in those years?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And
I mean,
similar kinds of arrangements?
similar kinds, because we gave two brothers, they took merchandise from our factory and they sold it individually, so to help them out.
Mm-hmm. Were you, able to provide for your family? Was there?
Yes, and the way I would say very nicely, because we sold a lot of merchandise on the black market with the knowledge of this German owner, and we split the money between them.
And food was available via the black market
yes,
as well?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you remaining in your own home during those years?
No, I see, we used to live, let's say, when the war broke up on one street, and then we were evacuated, I would say, by 4 or 5 times to the ghetto, and in the ghetto from one place to another when they make smaller the ghetto, till by the 4th time we moved into a place where from there they took us already with all Jewish together to Auschwitz.
As the ghetto was being made smaller, were there deportations going on?
Yes.
Or people were just...
Yes, there was, from the, let's say, from 41 they started the deportations. First of all, this was in connection with the Jewish authorities, which were working. I would never say they worked for them, but I would say they worked with them in a way, with a policy, which I today would not blame them either, because my opinion is, because of their cooperation with them, they were able to save more Jewish people than they would survive without them. First of all, they tried to organize labor camps, and they worked for some German factories. A lot of people died there, but nevertheless, I would say in our neighborhood there's more survivors than Warsaw, which got 300 or 400,000 people. So our percentage is a lot bigger than Warsaw. And the same Litzmannstadt or Lodz, which was the same policy as in our towns. So they kept up the ghettos till 1944. And from 1944, by taking the people to the camps, there was, I mean, till the liberation, it was a period of 8-9 months. So there's a lot survivors from Lodz than other. Now, besides Lodz and Benjen, our two towns were included in the German Reich as a part of Germany. So they took the people. In the beginning, they took elderly people, sick people. They took them for transportation to the gas chambers. They took young people to labor camps, which they didn't do in other towns in Poland.
Of your family, nobody was taken to those labor camps? You
Till
remained in
then,
Benjen?
no, because the person who took over our factory as the owner, he was close with the people they control. They call it der Sonderbeauftragte für fremdvölkischen Arbeitseinsatz. That means for people from other countries to send over to work. And they were also from Romania, so they were close friends from Czernowitz. So whenever they caught people from our factory, the owner of our factory, he got them out all the times till the Judenrein, until August 1st, 1943.
What were conditions generally like in the ghetto as years progressed, and what was not only in terms of the physical conditions and what was available to you, but was there an enormous sense of fear or concern?
Absolutely. I mean, fears were day after day, because you never know when you go to bed. You don't know, because most of the time when they were looking for people, they only took out the people in the middle of the night. You see, they came with lists and they took them away. So the elderly people, they took them away to send to Maidan, because till August the 1st, 1943, when they sent away from our neighborhood all around town, so 30 or 40,000 people, they didn't send them to Auschwitz. They sent them or to Majdanek or Treblinki. But Auschwitz, when they start Judenrein, then they start to send from our neighborhoods to Auschwitz. We were the first people in Auschwitz from our neighborhood. The other people, they went to other extermination camps.
Mm-hmm. Were there any, before August 1943, were there any other major attempts
yes,
to...
Yes, it was, let's say on June the 22nd, 1943, this was a few days before. You see, there was a central Jewish organization in our neighborhood with the leader, so to say, the name, I don't know if you ever heard the name, Monique Marine. I don't know if you heard the name. Which they evoked, let's say, I mean, whatever the Gestapo or the Germans they need or they want, they went through them. But a few days before June the 22nd, 43, they invite them, all the members of this committee, to Katowice to a meeting with the Gestapo. That means this was not the intention, but to get them to Katowice, but instead to take them to Katowice, they took the whole entire committee to Auschwitz. And then our neighborhood, our towns were without any leading, and so they took out all Jewish people twice, let's say so. On the 12th of August 1942, they were ordered all Jewish people, regardless a baby a day old, or an old man which is 99 or sick, all must appear on a Sunday morning. This was, I don't remember exactly, it was a Sunday, but it was August the 12th, 1942. All people, regardless, whoever will remain home will be shot, to appear on the sport place from Hakoach and Benjen. It was a very good place. And this they did in all neighbor towns like Sosnowitz or Dąbrowa at the same time, the same order. And then they kept the people, I was there too, and they kept the people, I was out, let's say, in the evening by 12 o'clock. The purpose, they said, they're going to stamp the identification cards again with a new stamp. But this this was baloney. So then they start to look over the papers, who got good papers, like I got good papers from our factory, and the person who checked the papers was a close friend of the owner of our factory, so they let me out and my sister, my younger sister. And then they let out, let's say there was maybe 12,000 people from Benjin alone at that place. They kept the people for 3 days. And God is a very good God. He started rain, right, the first hour it was raining, pouring, and they kept the people there for 3 days without food, with children, with sick people. And after 3 days they released a little of them, and then all the others they took away to the death camps. This was in all three towns at the same time. But the second big one, as I said, was June the 22nd, 1943. This was 6 weeks before Judenrein. So they took all the Jewish people out from the ghettos. That was easy. That was done. And they sent away, let's say, 60% of the people, and the rest they let still out. The rest were liquidated 6 weeks later. But this transport from June the 22nd never arrived at Auschwitz, and nobody knew and knows till today to which camp they didn't. You see, normally when they brought a transport to Auschwitz, like in the transport was 3,000 people, I know more than somebody else because I was working in office and I know everything. I wouldn't say everything, but I know a lot. So they always picked up if a transport, regardless, from Belgium or from Netherlands or from France or from wherever, or from Greece. If there were 3,000 people, they took out around 300 young people to send inside to the labor camp. It was there, let's say, 120 young boys and 180 girls, or similar like this, but always around 10%. They picked up for inside labor in the camps, and the other one they took on the trucks, or they marched to the gas chambers.
So no one knows.
No one knows what happened with those transports from June the 22nd, 1943. And then the last one was, as I said, August the 1st, 1943.
Well, during that 6-week period.
This was like you would live in a mental house, you know. I mean, everybody, we know that the end comes. We know that, let's say, the committee is not here anymore, and there's nobody to lead the people, and everybody went to bed knowing that in the night he will be taken out, or today or tomorrow. And what you asked before, to run away or to go away, there was nowhere, there was no hope. And first of all, we have to start again about the Polish people. They denounced the Jewish child for bread, or for half a pound of sugar they got from the Germans when they show where a Jewish child is hidden or so forth. So this was out of question.
Was your family still living as a unit?
Let's say so. There were 6 brothers and 4 sisters. Let's say 6 of them, of the brothers and sisters, were married with children, and they were in the ghetto, in separate rooms, like 3 families in a room, you know. But at the time, the night of this was Saturday. From Saturday to Sunday, there was the August the 1st, 1943. We knew already, there were rumors around that they have trains with how you call it, with wagons not wagons, not for only wagons for cattle. That they're not far away from the station. So we knew that. So the rumors were on this, and that was it. So, for example, myself and my wife, which was at that time, we were engaged, and other 15 people went down to a bunker for the night, and we put out one fellow. He should watch outside the house what goes on. So by 12 o'clock we heard the first shooting. Let's say people from the around, somebody left from ours to another, they shot. So we knew that this is the end. But by 5 o'clock in the morning, they knocked in our room, and we were, let's say, in a bunker going from, how you call the shank? No. You know Jewish? How you call it? From a place you open where you have the clothes hanging. So we got an opening. From there we went down to a basement, and where there were 18 people. There was one child, I remember, that was crying. But nevertheless, by 5 o'clock they discovered they opened, but they knew from other places how the bunkers were built. So they put in a piece of fire with fire. They took a match and a piece of paper and they threw it down when it started. So they heard a noise already from us. So they took us out, and then it was Sunday morning by 7 o'clock. By 10 o'clock I was already in Auschwitz. But my parents were in another place. One sister was with me. She came to Auschwitz with me. My younger brother was with me. So we were in this transport. I was and my wife and one brother and one sister. And my parents, they took my parents 2 days later on Tuesday morning to Auschwitz. So if you want a specific what we lost in the 1 week, my father and my mother were killed in Auschwitz on August the 3rd. My oldest sister was 8 children. She was killed in Auschwitz with 7 children. 1 child survived. She lives here in Forest Hills. The second brother after her, Harry B., as I mentioned to you, which is at the same time is my father-in-law. He survived Auschwitz, and his wife survived Auschwitz, and 4 children survived, and 4 children were killed in Auschwitz. There were 8. The brother after her, Chaim, he was taken to a labor camp, Kittelstreben in Germany. He died there in this camp. His oldest daughter died before June 9 from hunger. 1 daughter survived, and she lived in Israel. The next brother, Ezrael Yosef, and his wife and 2 boys were killed in Auschwitz the same week. The second brother, Shlomo, and his wife and a small little girl were killed the same week in Auschwitz. And then the younger brother, Abraham, he survived with me together. He died last year in New York. And I got 2 more sisters. And one sister, Alta, with a husband, with a boy. 1 boy, they were killed in Auschwitz the same week. And I got left 2 sisters in Auschwitz, which they took down for labor at the same time. This was Paula, she was married. She was selected on the 21st of January 1944. There was one of the biggest elections in Auschwitz. There was minor selections, but this was a selection where in the girls' camp, in the men's camp, at the same time, there was 3 days of selection. All Jewish people in Auschwitz, maybe it was there by 30 or by 40,000. At the same time, they made a selection in the men's, from all blocks. You have to undress yourself naked, run over to the last barrack there, and there were the selections by Mengele. And they select so many people that we didn't know which one will survive, because they took so many numbers. So there was a discussion till the evening. All the numbers they marked down, they will let live, or the numbers they didn't mark down will. So finally, in the evening, they came to the blocks and they took out the people with the numbers they marked down. So at that time, they marked that they took my sister, Paula, and Manya, the youngest sister, she died in Auschwitz in October the 5th, 1944, from starvation.
Can you describe the transport to Auschwitz?
The transport to Auschwitz, what should I tell you? There was quite, let's say, by 2,000 people in our transport. You see, there was a cattle wagon, and some people were trying to open the small windows or to try to take away pieces of wood or so. They start to shut into the wagons, and from my wagon they took out a girl which I used to work with in an office in Belgium. Her name was Manja Ehrlich, and they shot one of the police people. You know what they did? The Jewish police, they came to the station only with people and so, and then finally, at the last end of this transport, they took all the Jewish militia or police, how you call it, and they put them into the same train to Auschwitz. So there was shot one policeman, Jewish policeman, in our wagon. Or if you want to hear another story, there was a very known Jewish writer, a communist in Poland by the name Vygotsky. I don't know if he's still alive or not. He took Chankali in our wagon, him and his wife and a child. It was only, let's say, it was only an hour ride from Belgium to Auschwitz. When we came to Auschwitz, he was half dead. His wife was dead, the child was dead. But because at that time in Auschwitz were a lot of communists there, all the top people were communists, and they knew who he is. They were able, even half dead, to bring him into the camp, to Auschwitz, and they took him, they gave him a job in the hospital. There was a so-called hospital, and he was working there, and I remember in 1944, when they threw him out, when the Polish anti-Semites took over the hospital, they threw him out. So I helped him out at that time in Auschwitz, and I wouldn't say thank me or so, but he survived. He lives in Israel. If he's still alive today, I don't know, but 2 years or a year ago he was still alive there. So this was in our wagon. I mean, one committed suicide, one was shot, and so. And when they opened the wagons, they threw out the dead people, and we came out. All the goods people, some got with them small suitcases, packages, threw it away, rouse, and then they start to select. And so they let me out with my niece, which was my color, to go, and my two sisters. We went with between the 300 people to the camp. And the other people, the older people, they even helped them go into the truck, and so they brought the people to the gas chambers. I passed once. I want to try to see my sisters in the women's camp. Also, the capo, which was a capo over the tailors and shoemakers, we delivered shoes to the women's camp, shoes from the dead people which were repaired in our camp, and the good ones were sent to Germany, and the bad part of the shoes were sent for the inmates. So we took, let's say, a wagon, and you were the horse with it, and you schlepped this. So I went once. So at that time I passed by, and I saw when they opened a gas chamber. This is the only one when I saw like you open a box of sardine. There were men, women, and children so clamped together, like one piece of body.
What did you think?
What I think, I got 40 years to think. I told you what I think.
What now? At that
I can
time,
tell you what I think, that the world is not world, that the world exists. That's what
was
I
that
think.
your thought when you saw that open gas chamber?
Yes.
Mhm.
So what can a human being think? I mean, if somebody will tell you that he is able to describe one day Auschwitz, he is a liar, because this is impossible to describe. Here comes a transport. Here comes people, let's say, like from Holland or from Belgium. Children with the small fur coats, with the dolls on their hands, and the parents, the parents dressed, I mean, the most elegant people, and they are marching. They don't know where they are marching, and you stay behind the electric wire and you see what goes on. Here the music plays. You got the best music people in the world. For example, from each transport, if they find, like was in Katowice, was a very famous musician, Gold in Petersburg. He was also between them. You see, from each country they got the orchestra was from the best musicians possible. They were playing. Here the Jewish people and the Christian people are playing sake. And here the crematoriums are working, you know. And so what can you think? What can you think? It was a crazy world. When I was liberated, when I saw a woman in a hat, I started to laugh to that. I saw a crazy person. What can you think? You know what this means to be in Auschwitz from, let's say, a year and a half or so?
The 300 people that went
The
to
300 people that
camp.
went to labor camp. So first of all, for example, if you will ask me how I survived in the beginning, you see, they took us to a quarantine camp. Let's say for 3 weeks or so, we didn't do nothing. Only like cattle in the bunk, in the morning out, and then some sports they did with us. Food, I mean, to describe you, the food rations, what they gave you, let's say, from a bread, they cut 4 portions. But in the 4 portions, for example, the man who he's supposed to cut the bread, what he did, he cut a piece from the middle for himself, from each bread, to sell it for cigarettes. From the other 2 portions they cut for pork. You see, he took out the middle piece. And then they bought cigarettes from it, and then what we got, let's say, and the spread was not from flour, it was from, how to explain to you, when you cut woods, what falls up, you know.
Sawdust.
Yes, this was the bread what they supplied in Auschwitz. And they gave you a piece of horse salami in the evening, when they gave you the bread. And during the day they gave you a soup from water and grass. And in the morning, 5 o'clock, they call it tea, which was I don't know what it was. This was the ration. Normally it was established that a person can live 3 weeks or 4 weeks. He can live from these rations. A lot of people, they survived this. For example, people in the kitchen, they survived when they put in margarine in the soup. When the SS man put in the margarine, he went out. This was not Jewish people. They were he took out the margarine 5 minutes later. Instead of a full package, I got 3/4 package because it was melted, and then he sold it. People, let's say, they're working in the shoemaker, so they stole shoes. And they sold them in the evening to people. They came in from the outside to work. They were not inmates, only they came in to work, and they bought the shoes, and they bought in a piece of salami or a few onions or bread. So this is the way people survived. A lot of people survived, let's say, in the shoemaker and the tailor place, because when they open a shoe, let's say when they got, let's say, 2,000 pair shoes from the dead people to repair them, so their obligation was to take out the good ones, the bad ones to rip off parts to be able to fix the other parts. When they ripped off a shoe, they find gold, they find diamonds, and whatever you want. They find pounds, sterling, so they sold it to the outside people, and they brought in some food. So this is the way that people survived beyond the ration what I got from Germany.
After the 3 weeks of quarantine.
So
what
after
happened to
then,
you?
I will tell you what happened to me. So the commandant of the camp came. One, they called all Jewish people. They need shoemakers. So I knew I will not survive so and so. That I was not a shoemaker, I don't have to tell you. But I said I went that I am a shoemaker. And I was fresh enough when he asked me, the commandant, this was God by himself, if he will give me new leather, if I will be able to make him a pair of high shoes, you know how you call it. So I said yes, and I know German fluent. So he took me as a shoemaker between the 50 shoemakers. And then he said to the Lagerkapo there that he needs a Schreiber, that means a person for the office. So I went out and I said, and I don't know, I was lucky, I mean, if not, I wouldn't sit here. So I said, how are you a Schreiber? You a few minutes ago, you were a shoemaker. Finally, he took me as a Schreiber, and they took us to another camp. The quarantine camp was a separate camp. One camp between another was electric wires. So they took me to another camp. So that means when they took me as a Schreiber to be there in the shoemakerei and the tailor. So when I came over, it was nothing what he picked up. I mean, they got their people. I mean, all the top people, which were all inmates, they got to say. So they put in somebody else to the office. So I was working for 4 weeks. I was working very hard labor. I mean, I wouldn't survive another week for sure. But then it happened a story like this, that the shoemakers and the tailors, they were sitting closed up from 6 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, with 15 minutes interruption to go to the toilets, all together, not the one. And there was one person which was a friend of the capo there, and he got the permission by the watchman which stood on the outside to go in and out. So this fellow one day planned to escape. And the fellow, like I was later in the office, who noticed every day the persons who are at work and reported to the assessment, he figured this fellow as in because he knew he goes in and out. Finally, later they caught him outside and they brought him dead back. So they threw out all the people from the office and they looked for new. And I was hiding into the table I didn't want to go into, but everybody was yelling Rosmar and Rosmar. So since then, this was 1 month after I being in Auschwitz, I was in the office in all camps wherever I went, in Dachau or where. So if not, the chair would be empty.
What was it, how was it different for you in the office?
It was different in so far. First of all, you were not exposed in the winter. I mean, let's say with shoes, sometimes without shoes, or let's say if they took you to the how you call it, to wash yourself, they took you once in a few weeks, and they changed your clothing, so they gave you, let's say, a lady's pair of underwear, and this was it, or with a jacket from, I don't know from where, and you look like p1of2, and so this was the first chances not to survive. I mean, going to outside work and staying out without food, without everything, and getting beaten the whole day. And so I survived a week, I survived 2 weeks, but myself, by sitting inside. By sitting inside, you got a small oven there. I mean, there were several people there, by 6 or 7 in the office, in this particular office. So, and then, for example, even the assessment came in. I mean, I can say for myself, he never told me you. Always in the way like Z, you know what I mean? So this was another way. And then my younger brother was working in the shoemakerei, so he got always possibilities by opening a shoe to find something and to sell it. This is the reason that we survived.
He was able to pass on some of...
Yes, we sold it in the evening. We got some onions, some. You see, the point is this: the Polish people, and let's say not the Polish, the Christian people, they were permitted to get packages from their homes. And they got the packages, so let's say if he needs a pair of shoes, so he bought from the people that work in the shoemakerei a pair of shoes. I gave him a little bit from his package, and so we sold. And this was the way to help yourself.
Did you have contact with your sisters?
Yes, I was once. You see, I was once because the office in the women's camp, it was under control of our office. So once the capo took me to Auschwitz, to the women's camp. So there was maybe 4 or 6 SS people around me and the capo. When we came to the women's camp, 4 SS women took us over with them together, and they brought us to the office, and I was there maybe an hour or 2. This is the one time I saw my wife in Auschwitz in the period of a year and a half.
How was it that you were able to see her?
No, I mean, they called her in. I mean, the SS was inside, and I was sitting here, and she was sitting there. She was there maybe for 10 minutes, and
I see.
that's all.
And your sisters?
My sisters I never saw. No, they were together, my wife and my 2 sisters, and my wife's mother was in Auschwitz. She survived. She's still alive in Miami.
So your wife had contact with your sisters?
Yes, they were in the same block, you know.
I
They were
see.
on the same bunk. We got from time to time small little letters to people. If they caught somebody with a little letter, it was hanging tomorrow. But we did.
And you and your brother were in the same?
Yes, we were always together. From the day they took us till the day of the liberation. We were always together.
Can you describe the bunk, what it was like?
The bunk, what shall I tell you? The bunk, let's say it was 100 or 120 feet long by 55 wide. There were bunks by 7 foot, one from another, but together, you know. There was three a low one, a middle one, and the top. There were 7, 8 people down, in the middle 8 people, and at the top 8 people, across the same. When you want to turn around, you have to ask him. You should get up. We'll turn around. There was all kind of sicknesses there in the bunks, like how you call it, Krebs. I don't know how you call it. I never used it in English. Like you have it here between the fingers, you know. How you call it? No. All your body is full with
Cracks.
lesbian, or how you call it?
Leprosy.
Yes. This was all the time there. And it's funny, I mean, on my part, there were 6 people or 7 people. All of them got it. I did not. I don't know why. We were under the same blanket. There was typhus there. My wife was sick of typhus. And there was, what should I tell you? There was lice, like big, like flies, or big. Well, this is you cannot describe it. I mean. And it's no wonder, too. People were sworn.
Were there ongoing selections that you were part?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, I remember once Mengele came to the office, and he talked. Our couple was a German. He was a German with a green triangle. I don't know if you know the differences. There was 3 kind of triangles. There was the gypsies, they got a black one, and the criminals, they got a green one. For example, the capo, which was the head about our people, he was taken out. He was, before Hitler came to power, he was life in prison in Berlin. They took him out from there, they took him to Auschwitz, and they gave him a job there. And there was the red ones, the Jewish people, or politicians, even non-Jewish, even Christian people. They got a red triangle here. So he came in once, and I heard they discussed with our capo about making a selection inside the tailor's workshop. So I ran out to my brother, and I told him, and he should run out to the toilet. And the men let him out. And then he came in, he picked up the other 6 people, and that's it. He looked over, didn't like the face, so he saw that you're not. You walked out already, so they took him away, and that's it. And
So your brother was successfully able to
yes,
avoid
definitely,
that.
yeah.
Were there other selections that you were
There were a lot of selections. Especially on a Sunday morning, from nowhere, they called all Jewish people. They should came out from the blocks and stay on lines of 5 and so on. They select out whatever from there. And there was even selections by the oldest of the block, of the bunk, to look over, and he decided who was not got any more for work, and they took them the next morning. They sent them over to the to the SS people for killing.
How long did you work in that office?
I worked in the office till October the 24, 1944.
Mm-hmm.
When the Russian army came near our towns or so, they started to send away the people to other camps, so inside Germany. So at that time, they put us on. I will tell you something else. I mean, why I am alive, and I will tell you. If you want to make a movie, I will tell you why. When they took us on the 24th, they took out first of all to wash, to clean. They took you away. First of all, when you came to Auschwitz, for example, I got with me, let's say, $1,000, a gold watch or so, whatever, to be prepared in case they grab me somewhere. When you came to Auschwitz, they told you to undress yourself here. And everything was with knowing what they are doing. There were bricks, open bricks, you know. You can put them away in cover. So everybody was hiding under the bricks with the meaning that he will come back to the same room and take it back. They undress yourself, and then they took you to other place. They cut your hair off and everything. Then they took you to a third place where they gave you new dressing. So they gave you, regardless, they can give you, let's say, as I said, a woman's panties and a woman's coat, and you look to. The next hour I didn't recognize my brother, my brother didn't recognize me, but you never returned to the same place. Then they emptied out what the people left. When on the 24th of October, when I was selected to send away, so they took us also to wash ourselves, and they took away the old clothes, and they started to hit when you were naked, quick, they threw you out. So they threw me a pair of ladies' panties in the winter. This was in October in Poland. But I heard somebody called Borinsky, but this is very interesting. And I used to work in Katowice before the war started in a very big firm by the name of Borinsky. So when I heard Borinsky, I ran over to this fellow. It happens that this fellow recognized me, but he didn't remember my name, but he remembered that I was working for Borinsky. And I went over, and he recognized me that I was the manager, and it was a very big concern. So he asked me what you want. So I showed him what they gave me. He picked me up a pair of winter pants, woolen ones, from me. And this is, if I will say that he asked me how I survived, that's it. You see, then we went to open wagons from Auschwitz till Berlin. This was by 2.5 days by train. In open wagons in winter, and it was snowing on you. But only because of this pants I survived, and I got this pants since the 24th of October till May the 1st, 1945. This I would say, this is the reason how I survived. But you never know. You see, he called Borinsky, and I knew that it's possible that he meant me. So that's the stories. If you know a million stories, you can have a million stories day after day after day.
Was your brother with you when you went to Berlin?
Yes.
How was that?
What do you mean, how was that?
You know, he was selected.
No, you see, by working in the office, I was able to help him a lot. In a way, he helped me when he got something very seriously, when he ripped off the old shoes in Auschwitz. But I was able to help him a lot. For example, sometimes they caught him by taking out a pair of shoes, and this was to be hanged tomorrow, and I got connections. I mean, to get away from it and so forth. He helped me a lot because I'm a person which I'm never hungry. I mean, besides If somebody will tell you the pains of being hungry, you don't know and nobody will know it, because as long a human being can go and grab this and eat it, he doesn't experience the pains of being hungry. But when you are under electric wire and you have only sand around, then comes a stage when you experience pains of hunger. But I am a person which I don't burn food so quick, which is known. So we were working this way. For example, we always got one portion bread in advance. For example, we fast one day, we didn't eat, and then we got always one in the pocket. You know, if you have, this is a saying in the Bible, it's not, you cannot compare to one which have bread in his pocket or doesn't have. You see, if you have, you don't feel the hunger so, because you know whenever you want you can rip off a piece and eat. And he was always holding my portion and his portion. He always was after me to eat because we were together all the times. But I was able to help him a lot. And it's always when you are in a position, I help a lot of people. If I will tell you that I can say thousands of people are survived if they're living now, because I did it for them and they never knew who did it. For example, when they start to plan to bring the Hungarian people from Hungary, and this was in the beginning, in April, May 1944, till August, September, they brought around between 600,000 and 700,000 Hungarian people. So they selected another 1,000 people for the Sonderkommando. If you know what the Sonderkommando, this is the people that were working in the gas chambers and the crematoriums. So they need another 1,000 people to increase the commando, the Sonderkommando, before this. And then they picked up, if you remember, I don't remember only what I want to tell you. So at that time they burned people alive, if you know it. They opened graves and they put in pieces of wood and gasoline and they threw the people alive without using gas chambers. Thousands of thousands. It's hard to describe Auschwitz. I mean, if somebody will tell you I can sit here for a year and not tell you what Auschwitz was. I always say if God would like to create Auschwitz, he wouldn't be able to create it the way they did it. Here you have music, here you have sport, here you have people walking in the streets up and down, and here people are marching, and here the crematoriums, and the fire was, and during the night you couldn't sleep. So much light you got from the fires from the crematoriums. The funniest thing is this: when they brought in the new transports and told the people what they are doing, I mean, they didn't believe it. And one said, "No, they don't talk to him; he's a criminal." They didn't want to. Can a human being believe this? That's the story.
You said that from your position you were able to.
No, what I want to tell you. This is what I forgot. What I want to tell you. So there came an order to our office to go to pick up another 100 shoemakers and tailors for the. So there was a part of people, or you call it, which they went out to regulate the Weissel, if you know what this is. This was no. This was like the Hudson River, a big river in Poland, and they want to regulate it to put away a part to another place, and they took, every 6 weeks, they picked up another 1,500 people. They walked in the water with the SS people, with the German dogs, with the German shepherds. And after 6 weeks, there was no one survived. They picked another 1,500 and so forth. When they gave the order to us to pick up 100 people, this was Jewish people and non-Jewish people. So when I went to pick up the 100 people to look over in the blocks from the carts, who was a shoemaker, who was a tailor, I disregarded. I went in, I took out 100 Jewish people, and I brought them, for example, in to this command. 3 days later, you couldn't recognize them. how good they looked the day after. And so it's hard to tell you what's what.
You said that in October of 1944 you traveled for 2.5 days to
Yes.
Berlin.